Dr. T.B. Jayah Utama Selon Pemlayu.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursaleen. Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsanin ila yawmiddin. Mr. Chairman, Honorable Member of Parliament, Mr. M.A.M. Azwar, His Excellency Halimawan Suyitno, Ambassador of the Indonesian Republic, dear brothers and sisters. I consider it as a great honor and privilege to have been invited to deliver this oration on the 125th birth anniversary of Al-Hajj Tuan Burhanuddin Jayah. I wish to convey my sincere thanks to COSCLOB, the Conference of Sri Lankan Malays, and its President Al-Hajj T.K. Azum for this kind invitation and providing me this opportunity to share some of my thoughts on Al-Hajj Dr. T.B. Jayah, whose life and personality is a great source of inspiration to all of us. Al-Hajj Dr. T.B. Jayah was an eminent personality who made a deep impact on the life of the community and the country. He was an educationist, a diplomat, and above all, a national leader who earned the respect and admiration of the wider section of the Sri Lankan nation. His life was a many-faceted gem, each facet shedding its light and luster. His life was intimately interwoven with the community and the nation. It is extremely difficult to do justice to his life and personality in a single discourse or presentation. Besides, I have been asked to speak about his life and personality as a model for Muslim youth, providing inspiration to encounter life in its various situations, to meet its challenges, and also to lead a life based on Islamic values with a sense of love and patriotic feeling towards one's country. I do not wish to present here a narrative account of the life of Dr. Jayah, about which much has been written from different perspectives. But I wish to identify and elaborate some fascinating features and admirable qualities of his life and personality as a model for Muslim youth. Today, we are living in an age in which religious and moral values are fastly eroding, and the education imparted in the schools and colleges have failed to provide the youth with a broader vision and noble objectives for their life. Yet the youth today are engulfed by the ever-rising tide of materialism, and their Islamic personality and vision are being increasingly exposed to Western secularist values promoted by the media. In this context, it is absolutely essential for Muslim youth to draw their inspiration from the lives of great men like Dr. Jayah, whose personality and life provides many valuable lessons to them to shape their values and outlook, maintain their Islamic identity in a multi-ethnic and pluralistic society like Sri Lanka, while integrating themselves with the other communities, forging national unity. Dr. Tuan Burhanuddin Jayah hailed from a respectable Malay family. He was born in January 1890. His father Qasim Jayah, in spite of the poor financial situation of his life, was a committed and devoted Muslim with a strong Islamic personality and will. He was very keen to provide a very sound religious education to his son Burhanuddin during his formative period of his childhood. Because Jayah's father Qasim believed that Quranic learning must form the basic foundation for a Muslim child. With this objective, his father entrusted the teaching of Quran for his child to Captain A.T. Morsid, a pious personality. This was followed by two others, Nuruddin Raleen and Omarudin Labbe. Dr. Jayah describes, at least later stage of his life, to what extent these teachers of the Quran provided him with strong religious background. Jayah says in one of his essays, "My early education was purely Quranic, first under retired captain of the Malay Rifle Regiment and later in the Quranic school, where I received a good grounding in basic principles of Islam." The Quranic foundation created in Jayah in his childhood period a love for religion, which found its fullest manifestation in his later life as a great admirer of Islamic tradition, culture and civilization. His father, with all the financial hardship he faced in life, was very keen to provide a sound education to his son. Jayah was admitted to SPG school at Cartagena at the age of 11. The fact that he was too old for his class naturally caused young Jayah a lot of embarrassment among his fellow students who were older than him. But Jayah never got disheartened or discouraged, and through sheer hard work and perseverance, he gained a double promotion. He gained admission to St. Thomas's College on scholarship in 1933, and in 1908, Jayah, through hard work, determination, strong resolution and commitment, completed the course of studies in 7 years, which generally takes 11 years. His father's financial circumstances compelled him to seek employment before his graduation. Jayah entered the teaching profession at Darbaraja College in Kandy in 1910 and also as a classic master in Prince of Wales Korotua. While engaged in teaching, he obtained his degree from University of London in 1917. Jayah was a versatile scholar of classics. In recognition of his knowledge of classics, he was able to join Ananda College as a teacher in 1917. It was then a leading Buddhist school, and he remained as a teacher in Ananda till he assumed duties as principal of Zahira College in September 1921. Jayah's life as a student in the midst of many challenges has a number of lessons for present-day youth. Knowledge must be sought with sincerity, commitment and dedication, and poverty or lack of means is no obstacle in the path of knowledge. This is indeed a great lesson and inspiration to youth who are facing financial constraints in the path of seeking knowledge. Education, as we all know, is a continuous process. The hadith of the Prophet, "Seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave," emphasizes a need for continuous learning to widen one's areas of knowledge and keep abreast with emerging new situations. Jayah, being a serious student of Islam and true to the Islamic tradition, had an insatiable taste for learning, and while engaged in teaching, continued his studies while he was serving as a teacher at Prince of Wales College and obtained his degree of University of London in 1917. Jayah's quest for knowledge and desire for continuous learning is a great inspiration to present-day youth to emulate, because this noble quality of Jayah was indeed a great glorious tradition of Islamic scholars who were engaged in learning until the last breath of their life. The contemporary society is characterized as knowledge-based society, and education today has assumed much more important position than ever before. The education is always being considered as the most fundamental and vital factor for the progress of a society. Today's youth could derive much inspiration for their educational progress if they reflect on the words of Jayah about the need for educated youth to rejuvenate the community and nation. In the lecture Jayah delivered at Ceylon Muslim Association in 1919, he emphasized the need for education and also the urgency to establish Muslim educational institutions for the education and progress of the community. He said, the supreme need of the hour is education, not merely elementary education, not mere half-hearted education, but education that will turn our heroes and heroines, leaders and reformers, thinkers and philosophers, and education that will make us progressive, enlightened and a powerful minority. These are the words of Jayah. Dr. Jayah gave expression to this wider concept of education, which not merely enables the student to gain mere academic knowledge, but education that brings out his inner potentialities, develop in him an enlightened mind, creativity and leadership quality. In today's context, these words of Jayah need deep reflection on the path of students and youth who are in the path of seeking knowledge and education. There is today apparently much confusion about the aims and objectives of education. Today, the aim of education and its objective is viewed in a narrow sense, namely to secure a good job. There is no dispute that a good education and qualification is the surest way to be gainfully employed in a well-paid, secure job. But it must be emphasized that education, while preparing the youth for a successful career, has a wider and a noble objective, as quite rightly emphasized by Dr. Jayah in the lecture he delivered in Ceylon Muslim Association in 1919. Today, the knowledge of English has assumed an important position, especially in the context of emerging new disciplines and new avenues for employment. Dr. Jayah, in his lecture on education and national progress, delivered in 1914, emphasized the need for Muslim students to achieve a good command in English. He said, it is only by revivifying influence of English education that the Muslim community would be in a better position of intellectual elevation, social efficiency and political power. Today's Muslim youth must draw inspiration from these words of Jayah about the importance of English. At a time, English is assuming an important place more than ever before in the international arena and the intellectual field. A sense of history and historical consciousness is absolutely important for a community. We must understand the past in order to know the present and to prepare for the future. Dr. Allama Iqbal, the poet philosopher of Islam, said that every nation goes forward carrying the backload of history on its back. Dr. Jayah had an avid interest in Islamic history. Next to classics, Islamic history was his passion. He had a rich library consisting of all important works on Islamic history, and he had great admiration for the achievements of Khulafa al-Rashidin, the rightly guided caliphs of Islam, and also the contribution made by the Muslims of the past to science and civilization. Dr. Jayah became the principal of Zahira College in 1921. In the following year, in 1922, the college magazine, The Crescent, was published. In the Crescent of September 1922, he wrote an article on Islamic history. There's an important quotation I used to quote from his article. He says, the Muslims of today must need hark back to the storied past of Islam to derive the inspiration necessary for their regeneration uplift. We have a great deal to learn from the vicissitudes of life which the Muslims of old had to pass through in their eventful career. Islamic history will bring us into living contact with those Muslims who in times of past, by the purity of their lives, by loftiness of their ideals, by their public spirit and self-sacrifice, and by their learning and culture, spread their influence far and wide and made a name for themselves which time has not effaced from our memories. Thanks to the vitality of the religion, which placed an important part in the collective life, Muslim communities decline and fall only to rise again. The darkest hour of Islam is also the precursor of the brightest day. This is a very important statement made by Jayah in this article. He says, the darkest hour of Islam is also the precursor of the brightest day. Never before was a need for the inspiration of the past to be forewarned as to be forearmed. Our future depends on whether we have understood aright the lessons which the accumulate experience of the Muslim ancestors teach us. The study of Islamic history is therefore not only a cultural value but a national importance. To the Muslim students, the importance of the study of Islamic history cannot therefore be sufficiently emphasized. If there is any subject more than another, which can energize a Muslim student into action and make him strive after ideals which will develop his character and regenerate his community, it is Islamic history. I conclude. These words of Jayah on Islamic history is a great source of inspiration to the Muslims of today, especially the youth. We are living at a time the world of Islam is facing serious challenges. There are insidious attempts made all over the world to arrest the worldwide resurgence and reawakening of Islam. But Islamic resurgence is a reality, and the youth of Islam must draw inspiration from our historic past. As Jayah puts it, the darkest hour of Islam is also the precursor of the brightest day. When we speak about the importance of history, to make reference to the historical traditions of Sri Lankan Muslims, I wish to make some reference to the historical traditions of Sri Lankan Muslims. Sri Lankan Malays. There is a need to study the cultural contributions made by the Malays of Sri Lanka and also life of eminent Malay personalities. This is a wide, interesting subject, but I wish to make here only passing reference to a great Malay scholar who was exiled to Sri Lanka during Dutch period and played an important role by his intellectual contributions not only in Sri Lanka but right through Southeast Asia. The largest number of Malays brought to Sri Lanka by the Dutch from the Indonesian island were Mujahideen, the people who fought against the Dutch, many of whom were of noble birth and scholarly orientation. One of the most prominent of these Mujahideen was the noble scholar and warrior Sheikh Yusuf al-Makassari. He was a great scholar who studied under eminent ulama in Hadramaut, Yemen, Mecca, Medina and Jerusalem. He fought against the Dutch on the side of Sultan of Banten in 1683. When Dutch managed to defeat the Sultan, Sheikh Yusuf was later captured and banished to Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, Sheikh Yusuf engaged in educational and dawah activities. He wrote at least 7 of his 23 known works in Sri Lanka, some of which clearly bear the name of Sri Lanka. 2 of these works are Al-Baraka As-Sailaniya, Sri Lankan Blessings, another work, An-Nafatu Sailaniya, Breezes from Sri Lanka. And many of these works of Sheikh Yusuf are lying in the manuscripts of Indonesian National Archives. Many of the manuscripts written by Yusuf are lying in the archives of Indonesia. And I am confident that there would have been many Malay scholars who made their contribution in Sri Lanka like Sheikh Yusuf. The youth of Malay community of Sri Lanka must take serious interest in studying their intellectual and cultural traditions and preserve the memories of great Malay scholars and saints like Al-Mukassari. I am very happy to note the serious interest taken by the Sri Lankan Malay community through COSLAM, Conference of Sri Lankan Malays, for the promotion of Bahasa Melayu. The preservation of Malay language with its literary legacy is absolutely essential for the preservation of the Sri Lankan Malay identity. Dr. Jayah was a very pious personality who had deep faith in Islam and its way of life. But this did not create in him a sense of exclusiveness. His exposure at Prince of Wales, Dharmaraja College and Ananda College provided him an opportunity to interact with members of the other communities and created in him a broad outlook and nationalistic vision. Dr. Jayah, as a patriotic Sri Lankan, who along with other leaders made his great contribution for the attainment of independence and to work towards attaining national integration. The life and contribution of Dr. Jayah is a great source of inspiration to all of us to work towards his ideal of national integration and make our humble contribution towards building a united Sri Lanka. May Allah bless Dr. Jayah and accept all the noble services he had contributed towards the community and religion. آخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.